Okay, so we're down on the other side of the knitting machine now. Okay, you can see I've already done a little bit of knitting. This is the pattern which I showed you earlier. So I've done a little piece of knitting there. Okay, just to show you what the pattern's going to look like. Okay, so it looks quite intricate, but it really isn't. It's quite easy to do actually once you just know the method, and hopefully you'll pick that up today. Okay. So I've got a 3-fold 16s cotton, which I'm using here, and I've got it on main bed tension or main yarn or main carriage tension even. I've got that set at 3 and 1 dot. Okay, it's just threaded in as normal as if we're going to do plain knitting. I haven't set any buttons at all. It's not knitting on KC, it's just knitting on the normal setting, so it's as if I'm just knitting plain rows. Okay, and indeed I've done a few plain rows sat there on top of the bit of lace knitting that I've done there already. Okay, so the lace carriage is in position. It's set up in exactly the same way as any other punch card. Okay, so you set it up using your green little clips there, and you just bring that line down in line with the start of the punch card there. Okay, and we've locked it into position, so it's that first setting that's facing you. Okay, so we've got that little spot there. Okay, so that should be locked as far forward as possible. Okay, so that's the lace carriage setup. Okay, also lace card setup. Okay, the lace carriage is over here. Okay, and hopefully you can see that is set up just on the lace rail there. Okay, and the lace rails sit in the top of the lid that comes with the knitting machine. Okay, and you have a left and right one. This one's obviously the left hand side. There's a little clip here, and also there's a little hole in here which you can't see, but there's a hole in the plastic on the very end of the machine, and that's where the two sort of prongs of the lace rail fits into. Okay, the lace carriage sits on top. Okay, and it should be nice and smoothly transfer from the lace rail onto the knitting machine itself. Okay, it will activate the bar at the back there because this is doing all the work, this is taking all the patterning. Okay, and it should sit nicely around the gate pegs there as well. There's no yarn in here. Okay, all it's doing is transferring. Just make sure you've got the N lever in, or it's set to the N lever. Okay, that's what we're going to work on today, and I'm just going to push that out of the way just so we can do, as I say, we've done our plain knitting. I'm just going to come in with the other carriage and just knit a couple of plain rows. Okay, so as if we've cast on, do about, what's that, 2.5 centimeters, inch and a half, something like that. Okay, and then just take that main carriage away onto the right hand lace rail there, just off the camera there. Okay, so that's sitting out of the way there. And now I'm going to come in with my lace carriage now that I know that it's set on the rail. Okay, so I'm going to come in, so we're engaging the bar at the back there. Okay, and we're going to come across those needles there. You can see those first three have come forward. That's the first part of the pattern, and we've got another one on the right hand side here as well. Okay, some lace carriages will bring the very edge, the earlier lace carriages will bring the very edge needles forward. The 891 and more of the more modern punch cards, if you like, they will have a setting so it doesn't bring the very edge ones forward. Okay, it's because it kind of gives you a little bit of a raggy edge if you leave them set. You can push needles back if you want to. If you don't want the very edge ones to come forward, you can actually physically push them back by hand, so it doesn't matter if you haven't got that setting. It's just a little one more operation to do, but it's not a problem. You can do it. Okay, so we've done that first row, that's that pre-selection row. So now I can release the carriage, and we're set on that middle triangle. Okay, make sure it's set at that middle triangle. Okay, that middle sort of lever setting. Okay, that's all we need to do. Go back and knit, or transfer I should say, so these stitches will transfer. Okay, and then some new needles will come forward. We're also having a good look at what's happening on the left hand side of your punch card here. Okay, So we've got, remember the red and the arrows that turn back on themselves, the dark coloured arrows and the red arrows. Okay, so this one now is telling me the red arrow is pointing to the left, so that's telling me to take the lace carriage over to the left. Okay, and then you see some more needles come forward. Okay, the other ones have transferred back. Okay, and the lace punch card here is telling me that the red arrow is coming from left to right, so I come back with that, and we keep looking each row. I keep looking at what's happening with my red and dark coloured arrows, those U-shaped arrows that we looked at before. Okay, so now I've got that U-shaped arrow in line with my punch card, where we put the punch card in. Okay, so that means, and also we haven't got any needles forward, so that's telling me that there's no transfers going on. We just need to knit plain with the ordinary carriage. So I'm going to take the lace carriage out of the way onto its lace rail on the left there, always on the left, and then come in with from the right with my ordinary carriage, which is just going to knit plain. And we always knit 2 rows, or however many it says, but usually it's 2 rows. Okay, you can see those have knitted off. Okay, that looks fine. And now I can come back in with my lace carriage. Lace red arrows telling me to come to the right, and now it's telling me to go to the left. Needles have come forward. They get transferred. New needles come forward. The red arrows pointing to the other direction, and finally off to the left. Okay, so it was 4 transfers. Then I'm going to come in, but they might be different, but just for this pattern it's 4. Okay, then it's telling me now we've got that arrow that's going back on itself, so it's this carriage that comes in. 1, just make sure they're knitted off. Okay, 2, if you are struggling you can always slacken off that tension a bit more if you want to. Okay, so that's those 2 done, and now I'm back to the lace carriage. The red arrow is key again now. So they transfer back, transfer, and finally 4th row that gets transferred and come in with the plain carriage. 1, 2, okay, and then again with the lace carriage. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then again we've got that arrow that's turned back on itself, the black arrow turned back on itself, so that's 1. Make sure it's knitting off okay, maybe slacken off. If it's not, let's just pop it up a notch there on the tension. Okay, that's 2 rows with that. Then back to the red arrows. 1, 2, you can see they're transferring now. 3 and 4, off it goes to the left. Come in with the ordinary carriage, knit off 1, 2, come in with your lace carriage, red arrows now. 1, 2, 3, 4. You will feel a bit of resistance. You may have heard a different slight tone in the carriage as well there, because there's a lot going on, a lot of transfers. Maybe it's slightly harder to push along as well. But don't try and force the carriage. If it is well and truly jammed, they are quite delicate. You don't want to be sort of ramming them backwards and forwards. Keep at a nice even pace. Keep your eye on what's happening up at the punch card, because that's giving you all the information. Okay, so now I've got that black arrow coming in to do the 2 rows. Okay, so we don't need to go much faster than that. That's 4 of those, and then coming in 1, 2, plain. Okay, so you can see the pattern hopefully coming up now. That's just almost 1 repeat, or I think there's 1 repeat, nearly 1 repeat done I think there. Okay.